Hey, welcome back. I hope you all had a great Christmas. Hope you all had a great New Year. But this is J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I'm your man, J.P. Well, I kind of went on a little bit of a hiatus there because the holidays were here and I was just kind of busy. My work schedule and holiday stuff, it was all kind of chaotic. But I'm back. I'm back. Obviously. So, what am I talking about today? Well, the subject of today is wrestling video games. That's right, video games. And I'm going to start off by talking about WWF WrestleMania for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, when I was a kid, I think it was Christmas of 1989, I want to say, I got the Nintendo Entertainment System for Christmas. And for me, it was the most epic, wonderful, awesome Christmas present ever. I remember because that night, the Christmas Eve that year, I went to bed like we were supposed to. And then after about, an hour, I went out to the family room where all the presents were. And there it was, in all its glory. Santa had left the Nintendo right out there in the open. So I was excited. So quietly, I started going, yes, oh my goodness, I got the Nintendo. I asked for the Nintendo and I got it. And it was going to be such a good time. But the problem was, for like a really long time after that, the only game I had for it was Super Mario Brothers. Mostly because that's the game that it came with. And so, for whatever reason, I don't remember, but for whatever reason, I never asked for video games. And probably because there just weren't really a lot of video games out that really appealed to me. But then, I heard that WWF was coming out with a Nintendo game. I probably saw it on a commercial during WWE Superstars or something. So then I'm like, oh, this is going to be epic. So I begged my parents. I said, Mom, Dad, I really want this game for my birthday. It's the only thing in the world I want. It's called WrestleMania. And I really want it. So my birthday rolls around. And they get me this box. Now, this box feels like it has clothes in it, which, okay, that's fine. We all wear clothes, whatever, that's fine. But then when I open the box, sitting right on top of the clothes is WrestleMania, the original Nintendo game. I was so excited. So excited. Every other present that year was just whatever. I don't care. Oh, yeah, thanks, yeah, but I'm going to go in and play this Nintendo game. So I went into my bedroom. I opened that bad boy up. I put it in my Nintendo, turned it on, and oh my goodness, there it was. Now, WrestleMania kind of appealed to me mostly because Hulk Hogan was on the cover. Now, that guy. But then I take my WrestleMania Nintendo game birthday present, and I take it to school the next day, or not the next day, but the next school day. And all the kids were like, pro wrestling's better. Pro wrestling's a better game. Pro wrestling's better. And I just got tired of hearing that over and over. Yeah, pro wrestling's better. Oh, pro wrestling, it's better. Okay. Bottom line, pro wrestling was a better wrestling game. But it didn't have Hulk Hogan on the cover. So basically, WrestleMania, the original Nintendo game, it was a punch and kick game. punch, kick, punch, kick. You could do a body slam. You could pick up your opponent and throw him about 100 feet. And then you could go off the top rope. Most guys could anyway. And you had your choice between, I think, a whopping 5 or 6 guys. But I would always play tournament mode, and I would always pick Hulk Hogan because his kicks were more devastating. It was basically, I kicked my way to victory because that game, the graphics weren't that great. There was no audience in the background, and at the bottom of the ring, there were no ropes. But basically, during the matches, they would play the different wrestlers' music. After one would get done, then they'd play the other wrestlers' music. And you just punched and kicked until your opponent was wore down. Then you could pin him. And like I said, most guys could actually pick up and do some kind of a body slam move. But it was always like pick him up and then throw him like some ridiculous distance. But then you could pin your opponent. And eventually I did have pro wrestling too. But pro wrestling, it was more of a generic wrestling game. I mean, it was fine. It was a good game that actually had like move sets. Like each wrestler, you could do different moves and stuff instead of just punch and kick. But like I said, there was something about WrestleMania. Because like I said, it had Hulk Hogan on the cover. I mean, pro wrestling didn't have that. Pro wrestling didn't have Hulk Hogan on the cover. But I had both games. But WrestleMania, that was the game that was the most epic. It's the one that I have the biggest or the most earliest memories of. And it was just fun. And then from then on, the Super Nintendo / Sega Genesis came out. I had the Sega Genesis because it was a little less expensive. And it's the one that my parents were willing to buy me. So I had Sega Genesis, and for Sega Genesis, they had Super WrestleMania, and that game, oh my goodness, when that game came out, because my best friend Joe, he had Super Nintendo, and he got that game first, and the first day he had that game, he called me, he's like, oh my goodness, the graphics on this thing are so real, the moves just look so realistic, it's like you're actually in the ring. And then I think I went over, spent the night, and we ended up playing that thing until like 5 in the morning. Even though all the wrestlers had the exact same moveset, there were no finishing moves or anything. But you had your choice between like 12 wrestlers instead of the usual like 5 or 6. But in this now you had 12. And there were tag matches, and there were like Survivor Series matches. There were Royal Rumble matches. And so then eventually the Royal Rumble game came out. And then Monday Night Raw came out, and those were all Acclaim games. Now, the Acclaim Super Nintendo / Sega games, they were fun. I enjoyed playing them on my own. But since I really wasn't very fast at pushing the buttons, when I would play against somebody else, I would almost always lose. Unless I could find a way to punch and kick and choke and scratch my way to victory. But most of the time, if I was trying to actually wrestle, I probably wasn't going to win because I just wasn't very fast at pushing the buttons. I never have been. So, but then after that, they had WrestleMania, the arcade game. And then they started coming out with like PlayStation, Nintendo 64. And those are games I'm going to get to on another video because I have some really, really epic memories with those games. But today I primarily, wanted to get to the regular Nintendo and the WrestleMania game for that game. Because that was just one of the most earliest and most epic memories I have involving wrestling. So, anyway, that's going to do it for today. Thank you once again for tuning in. Now, if you're new here, go ahead and like the video, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you next time.